Hey, Clout Chasers, how are you guys doing? Welcome back to my channel. I am here with four lovely ladies who are going to introduce themselves very shortly. It's your girl Mousy. You guys all know me. Welcome back, and thank you so much for watching my content. Again, I am at Luxe LA SOHO. It's a luxury roleplay community. You guys, I have filmed Soho, which is the sister sim to this, or the expansion that Angel done. I wanted Angel for this interview, but unfortunately she was not available, or should I say this SL roundtable. So today we're going to talk about your ideas, your business ideas in SL, specifically involving opening a sim, whether it's for RP, you want to open a small real estate business, or you want to showcase your landscaping abilities, or even just not necessarily to use it privately, but more or less for opening a business. Because we want to go through some things like what might be necessary. Do you have to budget out for this? How soon should you hire your landscapers? At what point should you actually purchase the sim? How much price comparison do you need to do, and other things? And these ladies here are all landowners. They're all like own either RP sims or community sims, or have a lot of experience in that area, and they're going to give us tips and tricks to help us. And this is sort of a mentorship kind of SL roundtable that we're doing today, so to help you. And what I was inspired by was the fact that one of my girlfriends had bought her first sim, or Homestead, and she wanted to open a resort with hotels, kind of a little bit less expensive than the SL vacations that you see people go on, where it could be literally for a day that you could spend some time, get some RP in, RP dinners, RP aerobics, RP whatever. But one of the things that she did was pay a landscaper, and this guy was on SL for 12 years. He had a sim of his own, but he still took her deposit, unfriended her on Flickr and other social medias, included SL, and ran off with her money. So it got me to thinking, like, what is the right way to do this? And I'll start with Ria. So, Ria, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you were recently featured on the channel, but for those of the audience members who have not seen that particular video, tell us about yourself. What do you do in SL? Maybe how many sims you have, and how you can contribute to this conversation. Hey, Ria.
Of the West Summerside community sim, and that's still about 10 years now. And I'm really new to the land purchasing, community running game, so I guess I'm just kind of bringing the lessons learned to this conversation, like the newly lessons learned.
Okay. And that's something that I think would help a lot of people to maybe avoid some missteps. And is the only place that we can find you on your sim, West Summerside Community Sim, which is also BU friendly, guys, in case you're wondering?
Yeah, that's the only one that I have currently. It's two full regions, and it's just West Summerside for me right now.
Okay. And do you have a Flickr or anything like that?
The community has a Instagram page. It's westsummerside.sl on Instagram, and we also have a Facebook page.
Okay. And so, guys, I will leave all the information below to reassim. So if you're into BU and you like BU markets, and she has a community garden there, and you can get your stats up there, it's not only for BU members. It's like a wonderful kind of California town. It's really beautiful in the suburbs. Families can live there, singles, couples, anyone, and they have amazing epic parties. I was just at her pool party the other day, so I would highly recommend that you check this out. So, hi, Alexis. Welcome, welcome. How are you doing?
Very good, thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you can contribute to this conversation.
So I am a professional landscaper in Second Life. I've done hundreds of sims within the community. I actually did Ria Sims. My husband and I, we own a company in SL called Delicate Designs.
Am-
So one of the
Amazing.
sims that we've done recently has been featured by Linen Labs. It's called Little Santorini, so we're quite proud of that. But I've also owned sims in the past. I've owned a 7 sim family roleplay community many years ago.
Seven sim. Wow.
And I have always rented or purchased my own full sims to live on because it's
We
more private that way.
Absolutely. We have a lot to unpack with you. Like, I have so many questions, but I'll give you a chance to like catch your breath while we introduce everyone else and not bombard you. But like, how do you get to Seven Sims number one? And I guess what made you decide to start a landscaping business? But I figured that could be a series on its own. But we'll come back to you, Alexis. Thank you so much for sharing that. And where
Yeah.
can some clout chasers find you, or the people a part of the clout chasing gang? Where can we find you on SL?
So I actually have a new webpage. We're still working on it, but it is up and running. It's delicatedesignsSL.com.
Okay.
I also have an office at Ria's Community in West Summerside. So you can go in there and book a consult and see a lot of our past work, get client reviews and all that. And I also have a Flickr page, which I can give you the link later.
Okay, guys, all that information will be in the description box. So please be sure to read it because sometimes in the comments, you guys ask me, where can I find this person? Where can I find that person? Guys, I leave you novels in my description box. So be sure to check that out. So, hey, Alice, welcome back. Alice is the owner of Fox Hollow Sim. You guys loved it when I did the review of that sim. It gave me kind of like Washington State vibes. But what is Fox Hollow based on, and how did you come up with that concept? And what can you add to this conversation today?
Yes, my name's Alice Ffear, and I help run Fox Hollow RP community. We have 9 Sims currently. Um, it's based off of North Carolina, so it's supposed to be kind of like this rural town in the mountains of North Carolina. And it's actually my mom who came up with the idea for Fox Hollow because she lived in North Carolina for a long period of time, and she fell in love with the mountain landscape and the scenery and stuff. And she thought it'd be really cool to have a role play community based off of that town. So it's supposed to be kind of like a little small town vibes. But recently we've been getting kind of big.
Yeah,
So
especially with Nine Sims, it's definitely getting big. And yes, it is a touch of Southern hospitality or Southern charm. That's kind of your tagline, right?
yes.
Yeah, but it's just so woodsy and things like that. So I was like kind of getting like Twilight vibes from that movie. But yes, yes, it is definitely North Carolina, small town, but which is getting a lot bigger. So why are you expanding so quickly?
We've been expanding, especially with the coronavirus and stuff that's hit. We have a lot of people coming into SL who can't really afford to own their own homesteads and stuff, and who want to be in an RP community. So we've had to expand fairly quickly to because we've been getting to max capacity with the houses. But we are the things that we're expanding now are to make it look a lot more rural because we have this big city happening. We want to add more woods. We just added a wildlife preserve, so and a campgrounds. So we're going to be adding more outside of the town, so that people can still feel like they're in this small town environment.
Okay. That sounds pretty cool. Um, we will also delve into that a little bit more because some of my questions involve like, at what point do you decide to expand? How do you know this will be profitable for you and things like that? But that's something that you could answer for us a little bit later. And we have Skylar Gregory here. You guys have seen Skylar before. We often do collabs together. And Skylar formerly owned a real estate company called Nerdy Girl Real Estate. Am I right about that, Sky?
No, it's Nerdy Diva.
Nerdy
Nerdy.
Diva, sorry, Nerdy
Yeah.
Diva Real Estate. And how
Yep.
long ago did you own that one?
Of course.
It's
Somebody's
okay.
gonna ring the doorbell when it's my turn. Pulling up my note cards, looking at the property, 2009,
Yeah.
July.
So it was a while back, and now you're transitioning into like YouTube now, right?
Yeah, I am not going to get back into real estate, I promise. And it's not that it's not a bad, it's an amazing business. It's just not my second life this time
Okay.
around.
And so
Sorry, guys.
yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I live in New York, and often the ambulance passes by and everything like that. So we'll just have to we'll we'll deal with it. We're not gonna. It's not gonna kill anyone to hear a dog barking. It won't be the first time. So Sky, with that being said, what can you offer us in terms of like starting with such a huge investment, like investing in a sim or even a homestead, because that weekly rate adds up too, right? So what would you suggest to people in terms of like either buying a homestead or a sim? What would you have to do in advance? And then guys, if you hear anything that Sky says that rings true or you want to add to it, like feel free to add because we're just going to jump into the conversation about now.
I think owning a sim is beneficial because I want to be able to read stuff when I want to read stuff. I mean, it's so simple for me why I want one. There's no other reason. I don't want to feel limited on what I'm going to put on my sim. I don't
Yeah,
want a laggy sim, but I don't want limitations.
but not even so much for like personal reasons. More of the question is what kind of precautions or what I don't know if precautions would be the right word.
Mhm.
What steps would you need to take before you decide to pull the trigger and make such a big decision of purchasing a full sim? Because it's
Asking
expensive.
asking yourself, why do you want it? Are you going to do this as a luxury purchase? And then you have to budget your personal finances accordingly. Can I afford X amount of dollars every month to be able to, keep this up?
Yeah, and so
Um,
this is going to be from the perspective of owning a business, right?
no, that's like personal. Now, if it's business, then you have to decide what type of business are you getting into? Are you opening up a club? Are you opening up a real estate business? Because if you're opening up a real estate business, you have to think about parceling out the land, cutting it up, having somebody landscape it, or you landscaping it, making it, appealing to the eye to make sure people are going to rent your parcels, going out and finding out how much you're supposed to be selling your land for. And is it, what profit margin are you after? Are you competitive with everybody else's pricing? I mean, I could go on and on. The list could go on forever, setting up scripts so people can pay their tier. Are you going to offer homes? Are you not going to offer homes? Are you going to have a beach theme? Are you going to have a woodsy theme? Are you going to have a winter theme? All these things are things you need to think about before pulling the trigger.
Okay, so guys, you're hearing that. Like, before you even think to buy a sim or do anything like that, there are just a lot of things that need to be worked out. I'm assuming that you at least know what type of business that you're going to have. So, in knowing what type of business you're going to have, you just need to figure out, like, how are you going to execute. So, whether it's going to be the setup of the business, how it operates, the layout of the actual land, landscaping, things like that. You need to figure these things out in advance. So I'm just going to throw this question back at the group. When you opened your Sims, did you think to yourself, did you have all this prep work already done? Or is some of the things, are you able to figure out along the way? What is kind of the most important thing for you before opening a Sim that you think what you'd have to do before even purchasing one?
If
Um,
you're gonna make a commitment to spend $200+ a month on one sim, then you should just have a plan on exactly what it is that you want. What is it that you want it to look like? For myself, I made a bunch of Pinterest boards because I knew that because I'm not a landscaper, I couldn't tell Alexis like I want these trees from Marketplace and I want these trees from this place. I knew that I was gonna have to give her some sort of idea on what exactly I wanted and what my vision was for it. And from there I kind of went and bought the builds that I would have to provide myself and all the other things that you have to provide because the landscaper, she's not providing the houses. I mean, some people provide the pools or whatever, but I knew I had specific things that I wanted.
Okay, so that's somewhat good advice, especially with a role play sim, guys, or even maybe less with a real estate business because of the fact that people are buying this space to end prims so that they can add things themselves. So maybe you don't want to waste your prims because you're in the business of selling prims and land. But in your case, as far as the community goes, I noticed that everyone's mentioning landscaping a lot. So it must be really important. So Alexis, what does a landscaper do exactly? Do you take care of everything outside the buildings? And can you tell us what market rate is for to landscape a homestead or what the range of prices are? Because it seems like one of the most important things, or you guys could tell me if I'm wrong about that.
Well, as a landscaper, it's our job to basically design the sim. So a client will come to me and I'll ask, okay, what do you want? What theme do you want? And how many prims are you going to give me to work with? So I will always ask for like Pinterest photos, inspiration photos, because I want to make sure that my client is getting exactly what they want. So there's no questions later. Then I take the inspiration photos, I have them write out a detailed description of what they're wanting. Then we do the terraforming, and we place every rock and tree and grass and flower and everything after we're done terraforming. Move their builds around because they do have to provide the builds, because obviously I'm a landscaper, I'm not a building owner. So we move the builds around, do their layout for them. Really what's involved with landscaping.
Okay.
Once someone tells me what they want, something forming in my brain for layout. That's one thing that my husband and I are really good at, is as soon as they say, okay, like with Ria, I want a sim modeled after Calabasas, California. Okay, automatically know what we're going to do. If you've done it for so long, you just already have this vision forming in your brain.
Okay. So when you talk about landscaping, you did mention terraform rocks, trees, grass, and layouts of what the sim would look like, which is I think what we all expect. But one of the things when I shot the video with Ria, she said that you actually did the streets as well, and then you put the mailboxes up. So are you doing that for everyone, or was that
Yeah,
just
that's
special?
that's
It's part of
absolutely,
landscaping.
that's just part of the detail. A good landscaper is always going to go the extra mile. There are some landscapers who will do the base minimum and take all your money. A good landscaper will actually put some thought into it, puts extra decor, them special little areas to hang out in. But not every landscaper does that. Every landscaper is different. A lot of the good landscapers will always go the extra mile. Like for REISM, I went out and I bought these mailboxes, thinking, oh, these will be so cute. And I started putting them around. I was like, Ria, I got you these mailboxes. She's like, oh my God, I just bought those same ones. I was going to put them out. So thank you so much for doing that. Also put like fire hydrant, just a little extra details like fire hydrants and street lights and
My
trash
favorite
cans and
thing
stuff
was
like
my
that.
sign.
That raises a question I had. I always wonder, because I never hired a landscaper. Do you buy your own, landscaping materials and then give you
Absolutely.
edit rights, or or does the landscaper put everything out and it's out of their inventory?
The landscaper has their own items. The only thing that's not mine is the houses.
So what
Everything
if I
else
wanted to
is
tweak
mine.
it? What if I wanted to tweak your work? I wouldn't be able to, huh? Like in 2 months, I don't like that rock there anymore. But it's in you.
Return the rock. Yeah, you can
But what if
definitely
I
do
want
that.
it moved instead of returning it? That's just something you don't deal
That's up
with?
to the landscaper that you're working with, to be honest.
I've
My
had
clients don't
landscapers in
get.
the past to give me edit rights, but not always.
I don't do that because I do a lot of public sims. I did the Craftwork sim. I did the Mishon main store sim. I've got public destination guide sims out. So I don't give my rights because you could go to any of the sims and do whatever you want with my rights. It's too messy.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, of
Um,
course. Yeah, I get it.
But I would think like after the job was done, if you wanted things tweaked, you would do it. I just imagine running a full sim would be so time consuming. If you have rentals and then you have role play and then you have to document history and create town history and you have stores and retailers, I maybe that wouldn't be like unless it was creating some type of disruption to your overall business, you probably wouldn't want to change things up too much.
no, you
Actually
definitely
put
wouldn't
it
want
in
to
my
change things
covenant
up.
that I wasn't changing the landscape.
Do you guys consider lag also when you landscape? Do you like have a
Yes.
lag meter
Oh
out?
yeah.
Yeah.
I need to
I
do that.
removed every script out of every single item I place. I
Mm-hmm.
removed the script and I put
Mm-hmm.
a scrubber through, which gets rid of all the script lag.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's
And
good
but
to know. That's
not
good
yeah.
a
to know.
lot of landscapers will do this. If you go to a lot of sims where they've had landscapers, do not care about removing the scripts, and that
I'm telling
is
you,
like
you
the
can tell.
biggest pet peeve. Oh my Lanta
You
is my
take
biggest
shadows
peeve.
off too, huh? I bet you take shadows off
Yes.
furniture too. Oh no, that's
Yes.
you. Oh, when you interior decorate, yeah. Say
Yes.
trims, all the little stuff. Yeah.
Shadows are ridiculous. I do not understand why so many designers insist on putting shadows on things,
They look good in pictures,
and
but it's not functional. I do get that. Yeah.
it's not functional. And
So
you
look,
can make your own shadows using lighting and photos. It's
true.
not a difficult thing to achieve.
So
Right.
in terms of landscaping, so this covers a lot. So my understanding is like a good landscaper will really keep in mind the lag situation for you, because if you have a
Yeah.
sim sort of like Ria or Alice has, where you have people living there and you have people role playing there and doing all sorts of things, what you want to make sure is that you want to make sure that it's an enjoyable experience and people are not struggling just to walk up the block, right? So you're landscaping and terraforming everything, including the beaches. When you say a hangout area, what's an example of a hangout area? You said a good landscaper will think about these things.
Well, like Ria Sim, for example, on the beach, we added little fire pit areas and volleyball nets and little minor things like that.
Okay, so cool. And can you tell us what is the market rate for a landscaper to take care of maybe a homestead versus a sim?
Um, my prices range depending, like for a homestead. We charge 35K for a homestead. Some people charge 20K, and some people charge 50K for a homestead.
Okay.
Um, for our full sims, the pricing's different depending on if it's a destination sim that's going to be a vacation resort versus a regular full sim. The destination sims take a lot more detail and work. Um, Some landscapers I've heard charge 120K.
Wow.
We don't. We don't charge that much. We never will, because I think it's a little ridiculous to get up to
Yeah, that's
120K.
crazy.
Uh, for my husband and I, it takes about 1 to 3 days to complete a full sim. Some landscapers tell you it takes, what, 2 weeks? Ria, what was your first landscaper before us? They took
4
weeks or
weeks. She
something.
quoted
4
me
weeks,
at
yeah.
4 weeks.
Yeah.
And in that
So
time, you guys have to
we
keep in mind you're paying your tier, or if you're paying to Linden Labs, you're paying that monthly fee of, I don't know how much the monthly fee is now. You guys could correct me, but it's over $200 USD. So time is of the essence.
time is money.
Yeah, time is definitely money.
Um,
So a full sim could go upward of 120K, and I guess the lowest would be 60K, right, for a full sim, or is it a little higher than that?
60K is for our base for a regular full sim. Yeah.
Okay. So, guys, I want to just keep this in mind because I want to give you guys information that you could actually write notes on and take. So, it looks like for landscaping, homesteads are between 20K and 50K to get it landscaped, and full sims are between 60 and 120K. So, what you want to do is actually budget for that. So, I want to ask one more question about landscaping before I move on to say budgeting. So, landscaping, guys, what if you hire a landscaper and you fucking, excuse my language, but you hate the work? You paid, I don't know, a deposit. Like, when's the what?
So
How
this
does the
one,
process go? Do you make a deposit? When do you pay the full amount? And what if you hate it? What happens?
I feel like I'm the perfect person to answer this.
Okay, go ahead.
With my first sim, I went through two different landscapers. I won't say their names, but I went through two different businesses. The first business required 20K up front. That was her deposit, so to say. And like I said, she quoted me at 4 weeks until completion. And we were pretty much through week one. We were working on week 1.5, and I still didn't have anything on my sim. I only had like a piece of a road, something, no buildings besides my houses. Like, it was just empty. And when she did do a little bit of work, I didn't like what she had done. So I was like, okay, well, I think we should just go our separate ways. Like, I appreciate, the work that you have done. but I think I'm just gonna try to find someone else to
What
do
a
the job.
nightmare. Oh my
It was
gosh.
awful, and she went
Oh,
from being like super nice and understanding to being an absolute witch. But and she didn't want to give me my 20K back, even though she had only purchased a few things to do the job, and she had done really no work on my sim. And so I ended up going through Elite Landscapers. They have a page on Facebook, and they actually help mediate these kind of situations between people that might have problems with their decorators or landscapers. And she was able to get me a partial refund of my deposit, so I had got like 10K back. Person who still wasn't Alexis and Mark. Me and him, we were doing great. And I realized, something was wrong with one of the properties on the sim. I asked for it to be changed and pressured. And so I ended up quitting. But he also refunded me the full amount because I don't really know what was going on with him. So we ended that pretty friendly. That wasn't a bad thing or anything. But I think it definitely helps to try to get other people involved. I would suggest looking at the Elite Landscapers group. They definitely help mediate these situations. I can provide you with the link, but they definitely helped me, that's for sure. And they've helped a ton of other people too.
That's amazing. I didn't even know there was a group in SL that did that, but it's good. We're all learning something. At least I'm learning something new today. So let me ask you this question. Did you pay half the money required up front? Is that how this works?
Yeah, for most people, well, for Alexis, she required the full amount, but I was like completely confident in her abilities. She was actually the first person I wanted to hire, but she was booked out the entire month, so I was trying to find someone else. And that's how I ended up with the other two people. But they both required me to give them half of the amount total due up front as a deposit. So it's not like, a 2K deposit, it's going to be like 20K or 30K, something like that. So be prepared.
Yeah. So yeah, a budget's important, but so question for you, Alexis. So I told you that my friend was robbed. She had put a 5,000 deposit down, and the guy who was on SL for 12 years, payment verified, had his own SIM, removed her from Flickr, kind of unfriended her, didn't respond to her about the work, did no work on her space. So the prices that you charge are pretty expensive, but at the same time, you're a little different because I can go to a few Sims right now and actually see your work and right click on
Mm,
your items and see that they belong to you and you're the owner. So I know that you did it and you have a Flickr page and you can provide references. How can someone avoid a
yes.
situation of getting in bed with a landscaper that they may not like their work? Because anyone could like take pictures of anything and claim it to be their own, or if they're not as well known and they're offering, and I put air quotes up, a cheaper price, and you feel like, oh, this is more within my range, how do you avoid being swindled?
on a
Well,
client. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
okay. Well, first of all, I've never heard of a landscaper only charging 5,000 linden. That's a red flag. If
Oh,
they're going to charge anything, it's
Uh-huh.
going to be half of their total fee. I don't do that. Like Ria said, I charge all of it up front, and that's because I've had issues in the past. Don't trust anybody anymore. But like you said, you can visit multiple public sims where I've done work. The one thing I could say is do your research. Don't ever hire or hand over anyone money unless you can for sure see some of their work. Got about
Absolutely.
15 public sims that you can go to right now to go take a look at my work. But never hand over anybody any type of amount of money without researching them first.
and what were some things? What are some things that a potential client can do to research? Like, because smaller landscapers may not be as well known as you. So, would how could they research smaller landscapers?
I've always asked when I first started out 2 years ago, I would ask previous clients if I could take my new potential client to their sim for a little bit just so that they can look at some of my work.
Got it.
Um,
That's smart.
I was also really established in SL though when I started. I've been a blogger for many years. I have had a blog for a very long time with really the biggest brand name decor designers. People had already seen work, so I didn't struggle that much starting out, but I know that a lot of other people don't have that kind of foot in the door. So that's the one thing that they can do is even show your own parcel. Like show them, hey, look, this is what I can do. This is my items. You can click on it, but definitely your safety net will be seeing someone else's sim that they've done this work on, and getting a review even from that person.
Yeah, when I was looking for a landscaper when I started my very first sim, that's what I did is I went sim hopping and I found like a few really pretty sims and I saw who landscaped this and then I got a reference from that person. I was like, hey, did you have a good interaction with this landscaper? So definitely getting a few people's opinions on them before you just hand over your
Large amounts of
lindens.
money, yeah, because it seems like landscaping is
Never hand.
expensive and like kind of a large, it's a huge part of kind of creating an environment for your sim. So Alice, I'm glad that you kind of jumped in on this one because I wanted to talk to you. I don't want to put you on the spot, right? So it sounds like you're making a huge investment to open a sim like Fox Hollow. Is
Oh
this
yeah.
something, and so this is just from the, and I'm not going to ask you how much. If you want to give a general range, you could of like how much it would cost to invest to start a sim. You can do that, but you don't have to answer that. But I do want to ask, if I go into this thinking I'm going to make a profit, like I'm going to have something fun that's going to be my own, a place I could res my items at. In addition to that, I'm going to, make a profit with this. Is that the reason to do this? Like, do you think that this will be profitable for people to start RP sims, residential communities, things like that?
I think that you should, before you start your own sim, you should definitely gain some experience in the market. So maybe make friends with people who do similar sims or things like that. Like I helped run Cedar Creek before I jumped into Fox Hollow, and and before that I ran my own medieval sim, which didn't do so well because the market for that isn't very good. But just like feeling out the market before you hop into something, I definitely think is key. Like right now, buying sims is something that's really hard to do because of the Linden Lab shutdown.
Hmm.
But so definitely feeling out your market.
But even though Linden Labs, right now, guys, in case you don't know, Linden Labs is converted to a cloud-based server, or should I say server? It's still a server, right? Versus the one we currently have, which is going to help us with lag, and we're going to run more efficiently and better. So there are just limited amount of sims available for purchase, if any at all. And so, but people are still expanding. Like I think you just said you expanded and re-expanded, and so did Alice. So I guess you guys are renting now. So
Yeah.
I guess besides like doing price comparisons and things like that, and obviously I would hope that you guys before you jump into this, you know a little bit about the business and whether or not if opening a resort is a good idea and whether you think people will come. Like you'll do some a little bit of research and just see how much foot traction the type of sim you want to open is getting that's currently open right now, if that makes sense.
I
Is this
definitely,
uh-huh, go ahead, sorry, Alice. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I definitely don't think that this is something you should go into to make a profit. If you
Yeah.
think it's going to make it should be something that you're doing as like a hobby or because you like to decorate or because you just want the experience or something. You should never go into it thinking you're going to immediately return a profit. Eventually, if you do work hard and you put enough time and effort into it, you can make a profit. It is possible. And you can make a really nice profit. A lot of people turn SL into a second career or their main career, but you shouldn't go into it with that expectation because it takes a lot of groundwork and a lot of marketing and a lot of upfront costs. You're probably going to be losing money for at least the first few months, if not the first few years. So it takes a lot of time to build up a name for yourself and to get enough people and meeting people and marketing is probably the biggest key is being social and making friends.
Okay, I see that.
I thought it was kind of difficult. I know you suggested, Alice, to like go meet people or befriend someone that owns a sim, but I think that we've all ran into a situation where people that make a lot of money in SL or own big businesses in SL, even if they are communities, they tend to keep to themselves or the people that they know. And they also have, you know, their people that reach out to you. I got lucky because I think I went to, I don't remember what sim it was that I went to. And the sim owner had so happened to be there, and she gave me a lot of good information. But at the same time, it wasn't kind of like we didn't add each other after that.
Yeah, I have to
She
agree
didn't
with
offer me
that.
a job.
Yeah, because sometimes like in SL don't want to even tell you where they bought their shoes, let alone reveal some of their kind of inside business secrets. And that's why you ladies are here, because like I
Yeah.
said, my friend is starting a business, and it's impossible to know where to start or how to start. And I figured that some of you who've done this for a long time could really help and give tips. So just by my estimations, like doing a budget, let's say, and I could be a little off on the numbers, but I'm just rounding, guys. To maintain a sim is like, say, 200 plus a month. Landscaping is probably going to be $200 of initial investment, and then you have to buy your buildings and do all your things. So I'm thinking, just to even start a sim alone in SL, like a RP sim or a real estate sim or something like that, is going to probably cost you like 500 linden. Or if it's a real estate business, maybe a little bit less, and we'll get back to Sky on that one. So that's a huge investment up front, and you guys could tell me if I'm overestimating. What is marketing? Like, tell me, guys, tell me about marketing. Like, how do you get marketing taken care of? Because if I'm putting this kind of money into SL, I want to know that at least people are going to come.
Yeah, you have to add like a couple $100 extra for marketing, especially if you're just starting out, so that you can get your name out there. I know just in the past month we did Life Pride, and that was 15,000 linden for the booth, and then 7,000 per party. We hosted, and we hosted a few parties there. So that was like one of our marketing things. We've also done things like go to like the vintage fair and put up boards there, and reached out to you and other YouTubers and uh, bloggers. And then there's also social media. Social media has become such a huge thing in Second Life now. We have
Hmm.
Flickr, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Foxhollow, SL.com. Like, you have to do it all.
And what do you think is I know doing it all literally means doing everything that you just said, but what do you think, if someone had a limited budget, which I don't think, guys, to be honest, you should skimp on marketing. That's probably where the most of your money should go, if anything. Obviously, besides having a sim that looks good, what do you think is probably the most important way to market of everything you just mentioned?
Social media, and it's free. So as long as you have a strong social media presence, so that's adding people, friending people, liking people's posts, adding things to your Flickr feed, adding things to your Instagram, even if it's just taking a picture of like, your main, uh, whatever it is, your houses or your little hangouts or whatever, and just putting it on there, and putting your tags and where they can find you, and just trying to be heavily involved in social media is probably the best way to market. That's a free market to capitalize on.
Okay, that's really good and sound advice. So I'm going to stick with you, Alice, on this one. So, at what point do you expand? Because this is a huge investment. It seems like it's going to take 3 to 6 months for you to actually see the traffic that you want, or maybe to book. I don't think to book your rentals. It'll probably be easier to book your rentals, but you said the biggest investment is time in which you use to build your own following. Once you've done all these things, you have the amazing landscaper that went well. You appreciate the work. Everyone loves the work. You've marketed. You have people coming over. You've rented all your rentals. When do you expand?
Well, we expand whenever we hit max capacity, or when we see the market to expand. So when we see that most of our houses are rented out and steadily rented out, and we have some influx of spare, capital to invest into a new sim that might not be doing well for the first month or so. Normally expand. Also, it comes down to theme and ideas. So, like with the wildlife preserve, we knew that we wanted that we have this big community going on, and we still want it to feel like this rural town in the middle of nowhere. So, we thought, well, we should probably put some more outside of the town stuff for people to go do in the woods and things like that. So,
Will
definitely
there,
coming up with a theme.
yeah, will there be rentals in the woods to offset the cost of the additional sim, like cabins and
Yes.
things like that?
Yes, we have campsites and cabins and also RV parks. So people can go and pull up their own RV, and we have a couple pre-done RV spots for people to come and do. And we also have like donation things that we do. We know that those sims are homesteads, so they're the only homesteads that we have in our sims are two for those wildlife preserves because we don't need as much
Yeah,
prim there. But we also know that the costs of those are going to be offset by our other places because we have Lake Ollerben. So this is like our upscale community sim. We have a gated community, and that normally profits. So with those profits, it pays for not only itself, but it pays for those two homesteads.
yeah, and just adding to the RP environment so that people can really immerse themselves in it. That makes total
Yeah.
sense. So Sky, I wanted to come to you for a second, and I know your experiences are different from these ladies because you had a real estate business in the past and you expanded, and so I want to talk to you about, because I know you're also a real life business owner. You own a successful company in real life. So with that being said, how much of your real life skills translates into SL businesses, or do you think it's necessary to have? Because I think people look at this as a social platform and they don't realize, like, yeah, if you're going to open a business on a social platform, you better treat it like a business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And not only are you going to be using your real life skills, you're going to be acquiring new skills that you don't use necessarily in real life, like Photoshop, or, maybe you're not a graphic artist in real life, but you're going to probably need it at some point. If not Photoshop, at least GIMP.
Right.
You have to download your logo and slap it on something to advertise,
Yeah. So the
every
graphic
business
design
needs a
part of it.
logo. Yeah, I mean, just the simplest download of a logo, you're going to need you're going to need something like that. So, you need spreadsheets, you need accounting, uh, because you got to be able to precisely account for every linden that you're spending and how much is Linden charging you to cash out.
Right.
You have to equate all that into your profit margin and then stay competitive. That was the biggest challenge for me because I don't like accounting. I don't like dealing with it. I don't do it in real life either. I hire an accountant for my real life business.
Yeah.
So
But
that I struggle with.
and I think that anybody who's an owner of a business, you don't have to do everything. That's not the owner's job. The owner's job, or even a manager's job for that matter, is to like really go in and look at an organization from an aerial view and figure out where you need people in order to kind of
Mhm.
make everything connect and run efficiently and smoothly. And another thing too, I guess, guys, I want to ask this first, Sky, let me ask you this question. You also expanded, but your business differed in the sense that you had a lot of partners. Can you tell us about that experience, like having all these partners? Is it beneficial? What are the pros and cons? And how did that help you to expand, or do you wish you hadn't?
Are you asking me that?
Yes.
Oh, I absolutely had to because the Sims back then were 1550. I couldn't afford that back then. I was a middle-aged, single parent. I just got away from a divorce, and I couldn't afford 1500 USD. So I had two people that were willing to add to that. So 500 was affordable,
Okay.
and then when we turned a profit, it was like, oh my God, it's time to buy our next Sim. And I was so lucky that, we all had our specialties. Shaka, that was his name, Shaka St. Louis. He was the terraformer, and he's the one that landscaped the Sims, and he enjoyed doing it. So that wasn't something me and Beyonce, that was her name. That was something me and her didn't have to do.
Okay.
And Beyonce was the socialite, so she did all the networking and did a lot of the marketing, and I was more of the technical girl, and I did the scripting and set up all the boxes, to make sure everybody could rent, and I did some hiring. I had to hire real estate agents, and yeah, it was a lot of work.
So the pros to having partners is that you have someone who could take care of or that you could split
Help
the responsibilities with. And what are
and
some of the
have an interest and have a financial interest in the property, because if you hire somebody for 100 lindens a day, they may not do a great job. But I have partners that are profiting, thousands of dollars a month. We made a lot of money, back in the day. I don't know what it's like these days, but I know back then we made a lot of money. Like real life, we could have made a real life living off of it.
Hmm. We may have to pick your brain about that later, like to find out maybe on a one-on-one about the real estate and what you know, and then maybe
I don't
bring in
think it's a
people who are
thing.
doing, or even match you with someone who's doing real estate now, just like to compare notes. But anyways, that's
Mhm.
another conversation. What are some of the
Yep.
cons?
The cons is, people are on SL and they have other things they want to do besides real estate. And you can't really dictate other people's second life, no matter what you have invested with them, because at the end of the day, it's them logging on and them doing what they want to do. And I just happen to have, and I am not a gossiper and I don't like drama and dirt, but they no longer play, and I doubt they ever will again. But if they do, I apologize for putting it out there. But he was homosexual and she was straight, and she liked him. He didn't like her back. She got butthurt, stopped playing the game, and was stalking him outside of the game, on whatever platform we used back in the day. I think it was Skype or something, I don't know. And he got frustrated with the whole idea of being ping-ponged back and forth between the business and having to fight her off. um yeah, it was really bad, and then they both wound up just logging off and never coming back on. So that was a con for me, not being able to, I guess the word, control other people's emotions and feelings and their business and work ethics. And you shouldn't have to control that, because that's terrible to have to control that. But that's the con. I mean, that's the con, you
Wow.
know.
So you ended up running this business by yourself. So instead of having like a third of the responsibilities, then you had everything on your plate.
Yes, everything. And back in the day, when you're not just a landlord or a real estate agent, you are a therapist, you are a stylist, okay? You are everything. They ask you questions. I mean, how do you put a hat on? Where do I buy a skin? You know, how do I put music on my land, which is normal, so you tend to put up note cards to answer all the, frequently asked questions, but they'll still want you to do other stuff. So that was overwhelming for me. Keeping up with people's tier payment. People are late, and you have to make sure that, they're not late, because if that land is late, you're losing money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
takes a village to run a successful sim. We definitely have people that do our marketing, people that do our real estate, people whose jobs are just messaging people when their tiers are due.
Could you do it by
Um,
yourself? Could you run all
oh,
that
oh
by
hell,
yourself?
oh no,
That's why I quit.
no.
Okay, girl, now you know why I quit, right? Because I was doing
Yeah.
that shit by myself. Uh-uh.
And like there's times where we have to try to do it by ourselves because we'll have like so many people quit. So many people go on LOA and like they're doing vacations right now. A lot of people, a lot of the virus stuff's lifting. People are going out more, so like everyone's going on LOA next week. So we have to make sure that we have somebody here still manning the fort while we're all.
Temporarily is okay, but like
Yeah,
long term, like forever, no, nobody,
yeah,
no
no,
human could
definitely
do that.
no.
No
I
human could do that.
A question, if you don't mind, for Alice, because I know you said that you guys are expanding a lot because more people are in the game because of COVID. So have you guys made a plan for when people
oh
start
yeah.
outside?
Um, So when we expand, we make sure that we have enough capital to tough it out during the longer months. And things like COVID is kind of, a drop. Nobody expected it. Nobody expected the influx, and we have to kind of market for the outflux that's going to happen too. Normally during the summer times, if you've been in like the real estate long enough, you kind of can feel out the waves. With COVID, it kind of makes the waves different, but I feel like they're still going to be pretty much the same during the summer months. More people start coming into SL who you know go to school or have work or work at things that allow them to have vacations in the summer. So we normally get a lot more influx during the summer. During the winter, it normally is almost dead. So we have issues during the winter months. And I saw that in other communities that I helped run too, where you kind of have to build up the capital, and instead of spending it, you kind of have to make sure that you have it saved in a bank for the harder times.
Wow, that's like that. See, I would have never thought of that. Like, do you guys have any other tips like that? Because number one, I would have thought it was the reverse. I would think in the summer people would be out like swimming at the beach and whatever, and then there'd be a drop in SL. In the winter, people would come back. But either way, that's such a great tip that you have to kind of know the market and what it's going to do. What other things should people know? And anybody could take this question if you have any tips that you want to share.
Is there any good population counting um, database for SL? Because that's how we used to gauge our seasons. Back in the day when we used to log on to SL, we used to be able to see how many people were logged in. That helped us tremendously.
Still
I don't
can
know.
on Firestorm. It will give
Yeah.
you a count
Is
of how
that
many people are online.
is it accurate? Because it's always the same damn number for me. So I'm thinking that
Mine's
it's
never the same, so I don't know.
really. I'll have to look that, in my real life, it's so funny. I'm in the entertainment business, and the way I find out if there's a big crowd is how much are the hotel rooms. If generally the hotel rooms are expensive, I know there's a nice crowd coming in town, so.
Yeah, it's looking at other people's markets too, because if you know a bunch of other SL communities, you can kind of gauge on how many houses they have available, how much room they have.
Yep.
So you can kind of see, check out their real estate pages and stuff and just see what the market's like. We still have a good amount of people in SL that are probably going to end up staying, people that came back to SL because of
COVID,
everything
yeah.
that was going on. So I feel like it still was a big boom that's gonna kind of stay steady. We might get a little down hill because of the everyone going out and wanting to go out after all of this, but I feel like it's still gonna be more than we had before.
It's so
Yeah.
exciting. It is so exciting to see a breath of life back in Second Life because it was a bit stagnant there for a few years. I platformed when I came back after my 4 years. I just platformed for a couple years. I just talked to Rose and I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So thanks to the YouTube community, I'm back social.
That's really great.
And now
Yeah.
with people finding something to do.
Yeah. And some of the role playing HUDs that I have explored, that's also keeping me very busy as well. So I have something to do other than just get dressed.
I
to
think a big part of SL is for people to find something that makes them happy. I know for a while for me that was like editing pictures, and then like I got bored of it because people became too demanding. And then, I went to blogging, and that was really fun. But now stores, have you on these strict timelines, or they don't like your pictures, or they don't like something about what you did with their product. And, that became a job, and so I left. And it's like, then some people just don't want to keep uploading money into it because, our products in world, they just get more expensive every day. Skins. I
The
was just talking
prices
to
at some
someone about,
stores, it's crazy.
do y'all
yeah.
remember when like dances were free and we just used to, pass it to each other, and now dances, are $600 a piece, or, you got to buy a fat pack for like over 1,000 lindens. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
so, it's so different.
The fat pack trap.
Yeah, but you know
That
what?
bothers me.
You get the bonus colors if you
Yeah,
buy
the
the fat
bonus colors
pack.
I
So you
hate.
only want that one bonus color.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Hurts me.
I
That
hate it when it's like
don't get
white
me
or
started.
black. It's like, of course you want the fucking white or black, so you put the
right.
extra money for it.
Yeah.
Raise your hand. Has anybody bought the fat pack because of it? I haven't
Oh, of
given
Oh
in
course.
yet.
yeah, definitely.
I
Oh
That's normally
yeah.
why.
I
I'm
won't
a
do it.
sucker.
I won't
I
do
I
it
won't
love
do
it.
it.
either.
I'll spend 10,000 in a gotcha, but I
Western.
won't buy the fat pack. It's like immoral for
Oh,
me.
gotchas.
Yeah, yeah.
Can I ask
Ugh.
this last question? Because we're at 55 minutes, and I know for you, Alice is in Australia, so it's like in the wee hours
It's
of the
it's,
morning.
it's actually
No
Alexis. Yeah.
wonder.
Oh, Alexa, sorry. I thought it was Alice for some
It's
reason.
okay.
Okay. Alexa, sorry. You're in Australia, and what time is it for you now?
It's 6:16 a.m.
So we're gonna wrap this up. Any mistakes that you've made around along the way that you want to share with someone? Just and I'm gonna just go around the table, and if you could just briefly summarize, like, hey, listen, if you're gonna open a sim, price compare, budget, whatever you're gonna say, like, and or if any mistakes that you made, can you share with us that, like, either a short list or mistakes that you've made that people should avoid? And I'll start with you, Alexis.
I think of mistakes really. I just know like a lot of people make the same mistakes, like what we were talking about earlier. Just really want people to learn, do their research before they buy something. That's like the biggest deal to me is just make sure you do your research first. Um, I know that I've made mistakes along the way. I just honestly, it's 6:16 a.m. I can't really think of anything real bad, but you know, just grow, learn, do your research. Don't ever hand over anybody a large amount of money without looking at their actual work first, even if it's like um, a not a landscaper or a sim owner, but anybody in SL. Like, make sure that you
Land.
know what you're getting into before you do it.
Yep.
And figure out what you want before you contact the landscaper, please. Always know what you want, exactly what you want. Don't be like, oh, I'll leave it up to you, and then later be like, well, that's not what I wanted.
Yeah, and you know what's
I'm that.
interesting with that advice? It's the same thing with scripting. When you speak to a scripter, like, you have to, if you want a job, like, let's say for example you wanted to make a joint or a blunt, you need to have what animations you want, not necessarily because the scripter is going to take care of the animations for you, but you're going to give them a whole picture, like the colors, what the animation should do,
Yeah.
what it should say in local, everything. Like, you have to have a really detailed, think about it like you're filling out a police report or you're reporting something to Linden Labs. You want to show transaction history, a chat history, something. Like, you just want to give somebody something to work on. So that makes a
Oh,
lot of
Yep,
sense.
no,
absolutely.
no, no. I am that customer. I don't care, honey. Do what you like. Here's the money. I promise I'll love it. And guess what? I'll love it. I am so not picky. I
Yeah.
am that customer. I don't have time to be creative. I don't have time to think about what I want. If I'm paying you 60,000, I want sci-fi. Hook it up. Make it look like Star Trek. Okay,
Like
well,
Star
where do you
Trek.
want this? Where do you want? I don't just put it anywhere, girl. Just do it. And I promise I'll like it. But I'm that customer. I just had to put that out there. I am that person.
But they're probably few and far
Actually,
between.
um, when I first started landscaping, I did make the mistake of like with you, how you're like, oh, I'm that customer. I did make the mistake of saying okay and then doing what I wanted, and then at the end they'd be like, well, that's not what I wanted. So now I've actually learned from that, and I will do a section of your sim and I will teleport you. Look at this. Is this what you want? Is this what you like? Can I keep going?
That's smart. Yeah, doing a little
And
portion
if
of
they
it.
say yes, then I'm like, great, now get out of the way. Let me finish my job now that I know you're happy. So
Right.
also, if you're going to hire a landscaper, make sure they do that. If they tell you not to come on the sim one single time while they're working until they're finished, uh, be a little wary of that, because you want to see, not be there hovering over them. That is the most irritating thing in the world. make sure that you get to come look at their work at least halfway through. Make sure you're happy so there's no issues down the road.
Yeah, that makes sense. Same thing with a builder. Yeah, anybody. So they're
Anybody
just
who's
like
anybody you've
precautionary.
hired. Yeah.
Oh, Alice just dropped. I was about to go to her, but
Yeah, she's so far away. 6 in the morning.
no, sorry.
It's me.
Oh,
It's me.
duh. Oh, I thought you.
I'm
Oh,
the one in
sorry.
Australia.
Oh,
Was
my
gonna
bad.
say.
I get confused.
Oh no,
That's
but
all
it says
right.
Alice, are you there?
Out of the call as well.
Australia.
Alexis is in Australia, but Alice dropped. Okay. So, all right then. So then going to I'm sorry, I'm a little discombobulated now. So Ria, I'll go to you. What mistakes have you made, and what would you change?
My only mistake is not being patient and waiting on Alexis and Mark. It's true. Like when she first told me, like, we're booked until the end of the month, I wish I would have just waited. Because I don't even think I waited till the end of the month. I think I had
Mm.
contacted her maybe that week and a half later, and she was like, oh, yeah, we can start. And I remember the day she started, she was there that evening. I went to sleep and I woke up and she was like, we're done.
Well, I also told you no a couple times as well
Oh, yeah, she
because
did.
I
Hmm.
did. If you ask me for a theme that I'm not comfortable with, that is not within my style, I will turn you down because why am I going to take your money for something that I don't know what I'm doing? So I actually turned Ria down a couple of times when she came to me because I
You
didn't want to
rejected
do
me.
community. Uh,
Okay.
and eventually she wore me down and I did it and it actually came out, okay, but um, uh,
That is so interesting. Wow.
All right. So just like guys, so that we could give people tips they could walk away with. What are the first steps? So besides and that was kind of what I wanted to ask Alice because she had the Fox Hollow Sim. So besides that, and I wanted to give it from different perspectives because we talked about role playing community, we talked about the landscaping, and we talked about nerdy diva real estate. What are some tips that we want to talk about, like in terms of um, and I don't know if that was her coming. Yes, she's back. All right, so we'll just wait for her to
Oh
log
yeah.
in. Okay, she's back. We'll just wait.
Yeah, my net's down, so I'm just on my phone.
Okay, no problem. So Alice, I'm glad you're back. So I just wanted to ask you a question, and we're looking at your empty seat. Just in terms of what are some like steps that you can give people like that they can write on a little note card or a piece of paper that they should walk through before opening a sim?
Yeah, I would say definitely make sure you know what theme or what direction you're going to be going in for the sim. Make sure you know what the market's like and that you have some sort of experience in it. And then, most importantly, I think that you should not be going into it to make a profit immediately and have the capital to withstand the downtime that it takes to get it going.
Okay. Okay, so that's like really good advice. Yeah, so the thing is that you kind of have to understand. I guess, like, guys, don't open a medieval sim if there are no one visiting medieval sims. I think after Game of Thrones, tons of people had like Game of Thrones or Walking Dead, like some popular show idea that they started and that people went online for. But then when the show died down, the Sims died down too. Is there any way to anticipate if something is like kind of like a flash in the pan?
You should just do something that you like to do.
It
I
doesn't
didn't
even
know
matter.
that you
Totally.
like to
That's what
Can't
I
be
really
on
do.
the
judge
Yeah,
what might die out in the future. You don't really know what will stay popular and what won't.
Yeah, what's gonna stick, what's gonna not.
At
I
the end
just
of
do
the
what I
day, it's
want.
your investment. Yeah, it's your money. People will come if they
Hmm.
like it. People won't come if they won't like it.
yeah, you're going to be spending a lot of time working on it to make sure it's something that you, at the end of the day, you'll feel proud of working on and that you'll be happy with. Um,
Hmm.
my sim, tomorrow I'll be like, oh, well, it was great while I had it. I really liked it. It turned out beautiful. People loved it. But, you can't control what people don't do and don't want. You can't control if people decide to up and leave SL, so it might as well be something that you're proud of.
True.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, how do you get yourself on SL destinations? I know, Alexis, you have a space there. Alice, do you have your space on SL destinations?
It's a
Alice, is she offline again?
If you go to the SL destinations page, towards the bottom of it, it's a form that you can submit your sim or your group sim to the you have to be like an owner or a member of the group or something like that in order to submit it.
Okay. All right. So those are some
Yeah,
things that you could do.
this
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
the sims that are up in the destination guide that Mark, my husband, and I have landscapes. We didn't put it up on the destination guide, they did, but I do run a winter sim every year called the Forest. We do put that up in the destination guide, so it's very easy just to go to their website and submit that.
Okay. So, and would you say
It
that it's
takes
really
them,
important to do that to bring traffic to your sim?
yes, absolutely. That is, if you run a public sim, that is the first thing you
There we
want to do
go.
when it's
Sorry.
finished. You want to get it up on the destination guide so you get visitors.
So you think that's one of
Yeah,
the
we
first things that you should do?
Yeah. It'll bring in, yes, it'll bring in like the 1 day olds and the people that are, kind of hopping around, but it'll also bring in serious visitors who might not have heard of your sim any other way, because a lot of people do rely on the destination guide.
yeah, we have ours in destinations. We also have what are they called? When you have it in search, and we have events. We also do events like we post everything that we do, like weekly events, in the events tab. So when people hit search, it's one of those ones that scrolls by. Normally, it's like all of the X-rated clubs, but sometimes every once in a while you'll see ones for different sims. So
And is that helpful in drawing traffic to your sim?
oh yeah, yeah. We get a lot of like she was saying, noobs or like even trolls. You'll get sometimes because it's in that, but it helps. It definitely does help.
Okay, that's pretty good to know. Any other marketing from your perspective? Oh, you told us all the marketing tips, but any marketing from anyone else's perspective? So, guys, besides doing the budget, vetting your landscaper or your decorator, because I consider it, even though it's different, one is out and one is in, I consider it one and the same. The same process applies to a decorator if you're going to use one. Um, Price comparison for your land. So we talked about those things. Marketing, we talked about social media and what's free and getting people to follow you so they actually know what you're doing at all times. That's important. We talked about getting SL involved in promoting you, whether it's destination or other methods like using the event board. Is there anything else in terms of marketing that people should know when they're opening their first sim?
Yes, the classified is such an underused tool that helped me so much. And there
That's
is,
what I was thinking of was classifieds.
yes, and that is a whole tutorial in itself on how to use it. I'm not going to walk through it, but there is a method to the madness, and it's all about Linden Dollar. If you have one
Yeah.
more Linden than the next person, your ad will be above theirs. That's kind of it in a nutshell, and how to precisely do that and stay up with that.
Okay.
But definitely classifieds. That's for any SL business. Any.
Yeah, and people like the Chungs do like 16,000 London or whatever per classified, so
It
you kind of
works.
have to, yep.
Yeah, it works. If they're spending that kind of money, that tells you it works. But you can always kind of have the same philosophy as SEOs and find a niche keyword as opposed to the same keyword that they're paying 16,000 for. You got to find a keyword that is used a lot, but not many people are paying for. So you can instead of spending 16K, you might spend 500, and that keyword is being used just as much. So
Very true.
there's a
And
method.
so thank you for sharing that because I didn't even realize that there were pricing strategies with the classified. So I just wanted, like I said, give people information that they can actually watch this video and walk away with. And this is a question for everyone before I kind of wind down. And Sky, I will start with you. When you had your Nerdy Diva real estate business, at what point did you see yourself making a profit?
The second day. I know that's hard to believe. The second day our sim was open, not the second day we purchased it, because it obviously took a while for us to get it ready. But as soon as we had it up for sale, it was sold out overnight. And
Okay.
I had a lot of lindens in my account overnight. But that was then. That's not now. So guys, please don't think that that will happen. That the market is much more saturated than it used to be. A lot more competitive because you have grandfather sims now versus new sims. So grandfather sims can rent their sims for a lot cheaper. So you're not going to be able to compete with them. So don't do it just because I said this. This was back in 2009. I'm an old head.
Okay. And guys, I'm gonna have a real estate mogul, like someone who's doing really well in SL real estate on my channel anyway to discuss. So, but this is just everyone's personal experience. Okay, so Alexis, going back to you, at what point did you find that you were actually turning a profit and becoming successful either with your landscaping or sim business? Or sim probably more to be precise.
Well, when I owned 7 Sims back forever ago, it was a family role play community. I didn't really turn a profit. I all my Sims were always at full max capacity, but the thing is that I would take that money and I would go pay tier on the Sim. Because I was renting all my Sims from another real estate company. So I never made profit from doing that. But with landscaping, I do turn a profit every time, except that I do spend about 40% of my fee on actually buying things specific to the sim that I'm working on. So while I still do turn
Interesting.
a profit, it still costs a ton of money every time I take on a new client because you never use the same things on the sim. Yes, you use the same rocks and stuff, but you add little extra.
I have a question. What if I wanted to contribute something that's in my inventory to your decor? Is that something you would let me do?
Absolutely. We always tell people if you want to see certain things, you can res them out, make sure we can move them, and
Mhm.
then just turn off the move after we're finished.
Okay.
Awesome. Good to know. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm
No,
just
no,
so
that's a good.
intrigued.
No
No,
problem.
that's a good thing. Obviously, I don't want you to res me out a piece of grass because that's,
But
yeah,
this grass has this blade cut diagonally just the way I want
yeah.
it. You're
Yes,
like,
and I've
girl,
actually had people ask me like, okay, so do I res out my own grass and rocks and trees and stuff? I'm like, oh girl, no, don't
do
do
you do the
that.
texture too? Do you do the texture of the region, the four
Yes,
layers,
yes,
and the
yes, we
water
do, and
reflection and the waves?
yes, yes, we do.
Mm,
And if
we might
you
have a
are on a quarter,
customer.
if you're on a quarter sim, what we will do is we will sink that ground down and build the ground up with mesh and prims and stuff, so that way it's our texture match whatever landscaping items that we're going to use. That way it blends together because you don't want the ugly whatever quarter sim you're renting, their ugly texture to be with your pretty new landscape
Yeah.
item.
That's important to
So
block out your neighbors. I mean, we have a full private sim, but yeah,
yeah,
when you're on those main lands with those ugly neighbors, that must be
the
very
ugly yeah.
challenging you. That must be
The
very
ugly
challenging.
neighbors and the ugly texture. For some reason, they always use the most god awful texture on
Yes.
full rental. Ugh, I can't deal.
Or
So
that 2007 prim ass build from I'm not even gonna go
yep,
there.
yeah.
We can go
But
on
if
and
you're
on.
on a full sim, you just add my husband and I as an estate manager. We will take care of everything for you.
Okay.
Interesting.
It's pretty
That's great to know.
seamless.
What's the turnaround on a sim?
Gotcha.
For my husband and I, it takes about 1 to 3 days, depending on how much detail. For destination sims, it takes 5 days at least. The little Santorini took us 5 days because it took so much detail. Everywhere you looked, including an underwater deep sea dive area, inch
Great.
of that sim is landscaped.
That's good to know. So yeah, maybe you could leave some links or SURLs of some
Oh,
of your work, and we could check that out. And so now going back to
absolutely.
yeah, sure. And just going back to Alice, like, and I know that I don't. How long has Fox Hollow been open at this point, Alice?
We just turned a year yesterday.
Okay. And so, in your experience, how long does it take? Because I know you have experience with other role plays. How long does it take to say
Yes.
turn a profit?
Well, it took Fox Hollow only like a month to start turning profit, but that's because I came at it with experience from other communities. It normally takes somebody who's new in it about 3 months, I would think, to get the lay of the land and figure out marketing and get the team together to really be able to expand. But it took us about a month to start seeing a profit for Fox Hollow, and then for my store, it took me about a year to start being able to pay for things like Fox Hollow and stuff. So, but I mean, profit wise, it probably took me like a month as well.
Okay. And when you say a team, could you just tell us very briefly, like what sort of team do you need
Oh
to put
yeah.
in place?
We have a little bit of everything. So we have the role play team, which is we have the heads of each of our departments. So we have hospital, EMS, fire department, police department, courts, school systems. And then we have all the people under them, which is like the teachers and the police officers and the firefighters and things like that. And then above them, we have somebody in charge of each of those departments. So we have a manager that's assigned to each of those. We also have a marketing team whose job it's just to, go out there and find us new things, socialize, go to different clubs, different things that are popular, put up ad boards, uh, do all the social media accounts, things like that. Then we also have our real estate team, which, covers most of our finances, make sure that like everyone's paying send their tiers on time, and if they're not, sends them a note card saying, hey, about that time, things like that. So it's definitely a big team effort. We
And
probably have about 30 people.
so the role play team, I guess you would find them in kind of like role play groups, and people would do that just for the love of role play, correct?
Yes, we also pay our role players. So if they're the heads of the departments, they get a Linden stipend every 2 weeks, and each police officer and stuff also gets Lindens, but it's not really for the Lindens. It's more
For the love of
for
it.
yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. And then you said marketing. I think, and so for marketing, we already talked about like expanding your budget for a marketing team. And real estate,
Mm,
that is very kind of easy because it kind of like pays for itself. Like, if you have a salesperson, probably on commission or something like that, right?
yeah, well, hopefully, if you're actually profiting, you're not only making enough to cover all of the costs, but you're also making enough to put some aside in a bank for hard times, and you're also making enough to pull out some for, our own money and things like that. So
Yeah.
we're very grateful to be able to be at that level, but it definitely takes a strong team to be able to have that. And finding those people is pretty hard, but takes a lot of vetting.
Okay. Would you guys ever consider consulting? Like Alice, you have tons of experience, and I could just tell by the way you're talking, like you really know the business side of this. And the same with you, Alexis. Sky, you as well. You have both real life and SL experience. And I know you keep saying, but it was back in the day, but it's still relevant because it's the skills, soft and hard, that you need.
Yeah.
And Ria, you're just starting, but like maybe even helping someone with blogging or something like that. Would you guys consider consulting on projects for other people for pay?
Um, I don't really. I have had people come in the past to talk to me about like, oh, where did you get this, or how did you do that? Because we do things like, we have a gift shop in town, so I have other communities come to me and say, hey, we want a gift shop. Would you maybe make one for us? And normally I'm okay with doing that as long as I have time. I run a store. I also am an animator in RL, and I have Fox Hollow, so I'm normally strapped for time. But if I ever have the time, I'm always free to help anybody who needs it.
Okay.
Mm.
So if someone
That's
were
pretty much the
opening
same
a
for
new
me.
sim, so you may not be able to like help them like a project manager oversee a part of it for a fee and just help them not like, kind of avoid major pitfalls. So you wouldn't be available for that, it sounds like.
No, but if they needed advice on anything or recommendations on who to go to for certain things, I'm always open for that.
Okay. And what about you, Alexis?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I'm super busy in my SL, but people can always ask me advice. I don't know necessarily if I'd come on as a project manager because I don't want my brand mixed with someone else's brand, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, I'm always happy to give advice. Where do I get, this tree from, and stuff like that. Landscaping is kind of a different branch on its own, so I'm not sure what I could really offer someone unless I sit there and show them how to do it, and that's just not a thing I would have the time for right now.
Okay. And
But people can always ask me advice. I won't bite you. I'm pretty friendly. If you ask me a question, I'll answer.
I feel
okay.
like that's something that like people run into a lot because when you're starting anything new in SL, a lot of people try to keep their stuff very close to them. And I've always felt like the more of us there are, the more people are interested, the better the community is in general. So I've never felt like threatened by any other RP community. I actually kind of like the idea of getting
Sorry,
together
guys.
with other RP communities.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Sorry about that. The ambulance was passing by.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it's a good idea to like get together with other RP communities too, because I mean, you never know. You might want somebody to like go vacation in their community, and they can vacation in your community. And the more RPers that are out there that are interested in RP, the better as a whole it is for us, because there's a huge untapped market of people that are just like sitting there on homesteads and things like that.
I
So
agree with you 1,000%. And I feel the same way about YouTube. Like, I feel like there should be no monopoly on it.
Mm.
Anyone who feels the inclination to want to open a channel, all it's going to do is diversify people's opinions of SL, and it's going to help the YouTube community because there are going to be more people who watch it instead of it being so niche. And the same applies to role play or any type of other non-role play community or any type of real estate business. Well, real estate might be different, but
exactly.
yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. All right, so any lasting words? And Ria, I'll go with you because you're the last person that I haven't really spoken to one-on-one in terms of tips and things like that.
Um, my biggest thing so far that I've learned is just be patient. From my Sims, I'm very sociable with my neighbors and with my tenants. I really more see them as my neighbors than I do see them as, some people that are paying me money to live there. I've made a lot of friends so far, and that's really important to me. I didn't make the Sims to make a profit in my eyes. I guess just kind of have an idea of what you expect from your business, if that's what, or from your goals. Be patient. Everything that will be, that should be, will be. Don't force it. Do not force it, because you might, get backed into a corner to where you're getting a product or a result that you don't like.
Well, thank you so much for that. And thank you guys, thank you ladies for being here and just sharing your tips and tricks and things like that. I learned a lot just sitting here and soaking in all the knowledge that you've had to share. Um, and I appreciate you being here. You guys, I will leave all the information below, and you can find these ladies on Flickr. They have their own websites, they have their own businesses, their own Sims, and so go check out what they're doing and support them in any way that you can. By either referring businesses, shopping at their stores, and I know a lot of you loved Alice's store. She gave away a gift card on this channel. You loved her Sim. I haven't seen a lot of your work, Alexis, yet, except for what I saw at West Summerside, which was absolutely beautiful. Ria,
Thank you.
your rentals all sold out within 3 days after people saw your sim, and they really liked it in the houses that you placed. So you did something really nice there, and congratulations on your success with that. Like your parties are amazing, and yeah, like people have IM'd me and said, "Oh, I just rented from Ria and it's so amazing. I love living here." And I passed that on to you in Discord, so you saw that. And Skylar, you guys know where to find Skylar. Like Skylar's on YouTube. I'll put her YouTube information below. We do a lot of collaborations. You guys love the video we just did on SL's 17th birthday. So
Yep.
yeah,
We had a good time at the birthday
yeah, we
and
did.
the rave.
Yeah. The rave.
Hmm.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did. So, you guys, we are at an hour and 25 minutes. I don't think a SL Roundtable has ever been this long, but there was just so much good information. I couldn't just stop. So, I will stop now. Thank you guys so much for being here. Alexis, I'm sorry for keeping you up so late,
That's
but
fine.
thanks,
It's all
guys.
right. Well, thank you for having me.
Yes. All right. Thanks, all. Bye.
Bye.